Hello, and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Jamez Staples, who is the president of Renewable Energy Partners, Inc. Jamez, thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Well, would you like to start us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and the business that you're in?
Sure. My name is Jamez Staples. I'm the CEO of Renewable Energy Partners, which is a solar development firm based in North Minneapolis. Uh, the reason I'm in this business is because I saw the opportunity to address two big issues. One specifically is the issue of poverty, and the other one of the issue of climate change. And so I saw marrying the two as a huge opportunity to create jobs for folks from my neighborhood, my community, to help eliminate some of the racial disparities that we see here in the state of Minnesota.
That's great. And so what do you guys do? Is it just primarily like solar panel installation? Is it design, those types of things?
Well, we started out as an installation firm
Mhm.
back in 2013, 2014. And for the most part, the intent was like, hey, look, I was tired of hearing about the racial disparities. I wanted to do something about it in my community. So I said, hey, let's actually get some people into some of the emerging sectors of the economy because we know solar is one of those issues, one of those projects, or I'm sorry, opportunities that actually help to address the issue of climate change. And so what we did was we started out as an installation firm. I got on a roof working with two people from the neighborhood and quickly realized that they didn't know what they were doing. And so my objective was at that point, okay, how do I make sure? Because if you don't know what you're doing, that's a surefire way to go out of business. So I said, well, let's make sure that there's an opportunity for them to get the skills and training that they need. And by way of bringing the skills and training, I asked where the trainings were. And so when I looked at where the trainings were, they were in White Bear Lake at Century College, and then the other one was at St. Michael, where the Union Job Training Center was. And so the goal for me was like, okay, well, that's a problem, right, to get them trained. So how do we bring training to the community? And so in that process, we had to pivot from an installation firm, which we did install those projects about in partnership with another entity, about 5 or 6 different projects. But I just realized that in order to make sure that there was opportunity for these folks to continue, and for me not to lose my shirt, we really needed to make sure that there was programming and training. And so what I did was I pivoted from the installation firm to being a development firm because the development firm controls the flow of the work, right? They decide who is the EPC. The EPC is an engineering, procurement, and construction entity that ultimately assembles these systems on rooftops or on ground mount projects. And so we pivoted and moved to a development firm, kind of like a real estate development firm, opposed to a construction company that just builds houses. We controlled the projects at that point. And so now we control the projects. We've worked with entities such as U.S. Bank, Targets, and the big ones, and then all the way down to the small mom and pop commercial art studios here in the neighborhood on Plymouth Avenue, Homewood Studios, and everyone in between. So that is what we do. We're developers of solar projects, and we're in the process of going back to vertically integrating our system to actually go back to the job element that we see so much value in around job creation to be an installation firm.
I believe you started this up in what, 2014?
Yeah, it was like December 2013, 2014. I think I did the formal articles of incorporation. Yeah.
So think back to those years when you first started up this business. Did you have any misconceptions about kind of starting up a business, and what were some of the challenges you experienced during that period of time?
Well, business is business, right? And that means that you need to know what you're doing, but at the same, you can have a passion for something, but you also need to have the technical know-how. And so I was not necessarily all the most technical in that regard. And so what I had to do was I had to find the right people to surround myself with as a leader to support me in my endeavor of creating the jobs that I saw that could impact the neighborhood and the environment, but also how could I create value for all parties involved. And so it was a challenge. Don't get it confused. I mean, starting a business is no easy feat. I started with my own capital, my own money, and didn't go through the process of most of I didn't have friends and family to kind of lean on to say, hey, can I borrow money or can you help invest in this new venture that I'm getting involved with? And so, it was tough for a while. It's been tough, right? But when you're passionate about something, I encourage anybody who has a strong passion to do their research and then kind of lean in and make sure that they do their proper planning to get their business on the ground.
So you mentioned it was tough at first, right? Funding, a lot of work. Talk a little bit about what your work-life balance was as you were getting this up and getting it going.
Well, there's not much of a work-life balance for an entrepreneur. I mean, I would be honest with you. I put a lot of things on hold specifically for the purposes of making sure that this business is successful. I put my personal life on hold to a great degree. I'm not married. I don't have children, so I felt like I could throw myself into this work wholeheartedly, which I did. And not only is it Renewable Energy Partners that I had to start, I also had to start a development firm that ultimately is responsible for the training center that we're also developing now. I bought a 22,000 square foot building for the purposes of bringing training to the community so that we can make sure that people from this neighborhood in North Minneapolis have access, but also surrounding areas too, have access to these job training programs. And so the building has been also an 8-year deal that I've owned it for 6. And that is a whole nother beast within its own right. But we have made some successful strides because we have a social mission as a business, Renewable Energy Partners, as well as Northgate Development, which is a real estate development firm focused on physical infrastructure. Renewable Energy Partners obviously focused on solar, also has the human capital development side. So we married the two. The building to this day is 22,000 square feet still, but also has been outfitted with 174 kilowatts of solar on the roof, a battery storage system, 34 kilowatts in partnership with the University of Minnesota. We have a stormwater management system, which we manage all of our stormwater on site, in addition to electric vehicle charging stations. And we also have a heat pump that puts a gas utility on standby. And so this is the building that is now 95% complete in terms of its renovations, and it will serve as a living laboratory for young people as well as adult underserved populations to have access to the skills and training. And so when I say that the work-life balance, it's just like, when you're a problem solver as a business owner, I consider myself a problem solver. And so being a problem solver, you think one thing is a problem, right? I originally thought that, hey, the issue of racial disparities was focused around the idea of that people just didn't have jobs. Well, then you start to look at the systems and the structures that are in place and you question, okay, well, what is it that I need to do to fix that problem? The job wasn't just the issue. It was the access to the skills and training. Does the population that I'm looking to work with have the skills? No. If they don't have the skills, then I said, okay, because I'm a problem solver, how do we bring skills training to the neighborhood? And so then it became, oh, then you got to go through this process. And that wasn't easy, right? I mean, it became, you buy a building. Well, it wasn't like in the cards for me to buy a building. I wasn't financially capable of even buying a building, but I'm a spiritual person. God blessed me with the right people to support me in the process, and they supported me in the acquisition of the property. And they believed me so much that they just basically gave me a loan with no real confirmation that I could pay it back, no way that I could really, and I didn't even have a way to really say I could pay them back, but I just said it's going to work, and they believed in me. And so to date, we have refinanced the building. We paid that person back in full. Like I said, the improvements have been made. Programs are being offered at the building. And like I said, we're still at the development level right now, but we're pivoting into this back to our installation roots, where we will ultimately be able to employ some of those people from those programs. And so I say all that to say, there is no work-life balance for me. It's been all work until most recently. I'm finally starting to try and figure out even what that means. And so this has been a journey of mine that has consumed me, but I'm very glad that I've done it because I see the value proposition that it leads for others that will come behind me and to support people that I don't even know in the future.
You mentioned, that originally it was the jobs, right? Want to bring the jobs, but the real problem that you needed to solve was the access to the training and skill development.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about what does the training program look like for somebody coming into this program?
It looks like a lot right now. We're still in the process. So a training program right now, we have a partner, which is Midwest Renewable Energy Association, which offers solar training. We partner with the city. The city is a tenant of the building. They bring in the partners and they offer the programs that are necessary so that because we align, right? You have to think about this from a bigger perspective, right? In my mind, climate change, as I said, is a global issue. And so when we think about a global issue, then everything also becomes local. And through that process, the city has the goals of 100% renewable energy, right? Well, they also have a goal of poverty reduction, right? How do we do things in a more equitable fashion that's going to create access and opportunity for everyone? So I looked at the policy and I looked at the goal and I said, let's marry the two. And then what we sought to do was is align to help the city achieve what it is that they sought that their objectives were. Now, um, it's not necessarily the city. I mean, politicians and city people and staff people make all sorts of policies and rules and things that and think about things the way that they think that they should go. When you get on the ground and you're more tactical, it gets real. And as a business person, you have to figure it out. Oh, getting into a program is you would reach out to our other partner, Minneapolis Climate Action. And so you asked what the program looked like. It's basically you would get a overall a full view of what the solar energy industry looks like. You know, you learn about what the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners is. That's the certification that's offered at the building through our partner, Midwest Renewable Energy Association. And then they would have the ability to learn about everything solar, right? And then you'd be able to test at the end of that program to actually get NABCEP certified. We're also looking to offer different programs on site. We have a HVAC program in partnership with one of our other partners, Vivo. We're going to be offering some electric vehicle charging stations programs. Not currently, but in the summertime, springtime, they typically offer some sort of stormwater management programs. We're going to have some energy efficiency programs as well as battery storage.
So it sounds like your business is evolving. And so how do you stay, adaptable and open to this change and on top of the direction you need to take your business? What are some of the things that you do to do that?
To be adaptable, you always have to keep your head up, right? I mean, the greenhouse reduction fund has been issued by the federal government, so we need to keep our eyes out for funding. We need to stay aware of what's going on with the federal process of funding in terms of earmarks, in addition to EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Energy, those entities. Because we have to be nimble, we have to be aware of what's out there in terms of funding and opportunities. We have to stay on top of making sure that we are applying for RFPs. I think we're submitting for the University of Minnesota solar RFP today. There's also other, businesses, right? We're just finished up a round of projects where we're submitting bids for Target. I want to say about 25 or 26 projects for Target. We have to stay. It's a lot of different moving pieces to this business. I mean, there's tax credits, right? There's different tax credits that have changed, and it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's a lot, not just me. I've got a small team of 4 people, but we're looking to grow, and we're looking to grow exponentially as we're looking to vertically integrate back into our insulation arm. So it's a lot. This business specifically. The way we want to do it is a lot different than the way that most people would do it. Instead of going out and making a bunch of money like most people do and then they give back, I decided that I want to make sure that the people from this neighborhood and surrounding areas have access to the opportunity. It's important. And that's how we're going to get more people to be a part of the cohort that ultimately help to address the issue of climate change. And we need to get more young people acclimated to the industries of STEM, period, because those are the areas that are of the largest growth. And that's how we start to bring up the future workforce opposed to having the shortage that we currently have. And so you have to be nimble in regards to, you have to be kind of like paying attention to 10 different things at one time, but at the same time, just kind of like the little game where you pop the thing down when it comes up, right? Whack-a-mole or something like that, right? It's kind of like that. And sometimes 2 things pop up at one time. You got to take into consideration which one is more important, right? Both of them are equally important sometimes, and you got to figure out how to get the right people or outside resources to support you in the process of going after those, to get those things knocked down.
So you talked a little bit about the fact that you're growing, and so would you mind offering us a little bit of a glimpse into your future plans and goals that you have for your business?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, we are focused on the idea of vertically integrating back into an installation firm, which ultimately has the biggest impact on the jobs that we seek to create. We also want to grow so that we can do more of these projects and cross state lines. And so that means that we would have to, more or less start to keep our heads up on the bidding processes and opportunities that present themselves. Um, you know, the way people look at California, they're kind of an anomaly right now. But the way I see it going in the future, the way that California set it up is that every new building that's built has to have solar on it, and I see that as a market signal as we're moving towards this climate change economy, the green collar economy as it's referred to. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are paying attention to the trending cycles of tax credits, right? Because that's something that's huge. That's actually how other businesses and entities and individuals can invest in these projects. But then also, how do we make sure that we have the workers to meet the demand, right? And so we stand in the middle of all that, trying to figure out how we meet that. And there's no cookie cutter approach. There is no just buy this item here and put it over here. No, it's so many different moving pieces. And different states have different incentive structures, different utilities have different incentives. There's different ways to now allocate tax credits, and there's just so many different moving pieces. So we're literally going through a strategic planning process at the beginning of May. So that's what our plan is. The first week of May, we're going to sit down for 2 hours, my team and I. We're going to specifically find out exactly who we need to hire, like in terms of the roles that need to be hired for, but then beyond what the roles that need to be hired for, who are we going to hire? And through that process, that's how we'll ultimately achieve the intended outcome of growing.
Great. Thank you for that. I'm going to change the subject a little bit and ask you, a lot of times entrepreneurs have mentors or people who were sources of inspiration for them. Has anybody in particular influenced your entrepreneurial journey?
I just kind of look to, as I said, I'm a spiritual person, and
Yeah.
I really kind of lean not onto my own understanding. I ask God for help all the time. And so through that process, I've been brought to some people who have been supportive, entities that have been supportive in this journey. And it's had its fair share of up and downs, right? It's because sometimes people change and attitudes change for whatever the reason may be, right? But I know that you know, I don't have any one specific person I can mention. I can just say that I get what I need when I need to have it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, knowing that this show in particular is targeted towards people who are in the process of starting up their own businesses, do you have any final words of advice or thoughts you'd like to share with our audience today?
I say to the entrepreneur, you can be your traditional business person that's just in it for the money. I also think that there's something that you should do. I personally think that you should do something that you're passionate about, right? And as the old saying goes, you do something that you love, you never work a day in your life, right? And so I kind of look at that as the way that I entered this industry, and it was something that I sought to do because I saw that there was opportunity to bring, my people, in addition to the bigger issue of climate change, to bear. Um, I encourage you to never quit, right? You have to have grit. You have to have faith. You have to believe in yourself, even when others don't, regardless of what they say. I encourage you just to go for it all and know that you can do it. As long you have to keep your confidence, you have to believe in yourself, because there are going to be a lot of people that are questioning you, and a lot of people that are gonna be naysayers. And one thing, the funny thing that I'm not a big fan of any individual, or I'm not even going to mention who it was, but what is it? People don't like to see you do better than them, right? A lot of people. And so when you start, when you come up with this idea, you're going to get a lot of naysayers. You're going to get people that are going to say, I don't know about that. Maybe you should listen to it. You gotta, but you have to be the person that stays in the fight for your good. It's not up to them. It's up to you. And if you believe you can, and you give it your all, then I believe you can, and you should believe you can, and you will, in my mind. So stay positive through it all, whatever it is that you're going through the fight, through the battle, through the good times and the bad, because without the valleys, there are no peaks.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Jamez. It was great meeting you and learning more about your entrepreneurial journey. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.